No. The title is correct. Rayful Edmond is not from DC. Welcome to my channel. It's your girl Bethesda. If you are new, my name is Bethesda. I'm 23 years old and I'm from Washington, DC. In today's video, I will be talking about Rayful Edmond and what he was getting into in the years after he got sentenced. And excuse me, not only did he get sentenced, but his mother got sentenced, his aunties got sentenced, his sisters got sentenced. It was only one person out of his family that did not go to prison. I also will be talking about how I know that he's not from DC, and it came out of his own mouth. It came out during an interview after he was sentenced. This interview was with 60 Minutes. They were asking him about his sentence, and they were also asking him about how he was still able to sell drugs while being incarcerated, while doing his time. In this interview with 60 Minutes, he bragged about the different ways that he got other inmates to help him smuggle drugs into the prison. And in my opinion, I feel like he gave too much information. I remember I was watching Boosie, Lil Boosie the rapper, who is from Louisiana. I was watching his interview with Vlad, and he was talking about basically the same thing, you know, of how he was still dealing drugs while he was in prison. But when Vlad asked him exactly how did y'all do that? Like, how did y'all keep it alive? How did y'all keep selling drugs? What was the method? And Boosie said that he can't say all that, like he can't tell all that, because it's still people that's in there trying to do it, you know what I'm saying, that's using that same method. I respected that more than him actually telling Vlad what lengths he went to smuggle drugs into prison. My thoughts was, why is you snitching to 60 Minutes like they the feds? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the first thing that threw me off. I want people to know that you always have a choice of how you want to answer a question. You know, you can't put it so much on the interviewer, because you have a choice of how you want to answer it. Just like Boosie maneuvered and just was flat out honest, like, I can't tell you that, you know. Y'all could do it too. Rayful could have did it too. So, during this time where the feds for sure didn't know what he was doing in prison, he was on all three phones periodically every other day, and he would have calls from Mexico. He would have people from DC connecting him to Mexico to speak to a couple people, including this guy named Chicky. He was from Medellin, and he was helping Rayful as well as helping himself up until he got murdered inside of a nightclub. It was word on the street that Chicky got killed because of his dealings with Rayful. Around the time that Chicky was finna get killed, it was talks that he was already cooperating. The interview made it seem like that he started cooperating after he got caught still dealing drugs in prison. And that could be a possibility, but I really do think that he started telling not long after he got incarcerated. But as far as Chicky goes, I feel like this. I feel like if Chicky didn't get killed, he would have been arrested and sent away for life as well, because during that time is when Rayful got caught, you know what I'm saying, or when police officials and the jails knew exactly what he was doing, and they approached him on it, and he folded, you know what I'm saying, and gave up at least 15 to 20 drug dealers' names. Chicky would have been on that list. A former dealer said that he was doing time with Rayful, and around the time that this drug dealer got released, Rayful gave him a call and wanted him to get back in the game, you know what I'm saying, of selling drugs and everything like this. And he declined the offer. Only to be told that he did a great thing, actually, by not fucking with him no more, or not dealing drugs with him when he got out of prison, because this former dealer got word that he was setting people up. Now we are going to get into how I know he's not from DC. So when asked why he was so quick to cooperate with police and give up names and everything like that, he said, I wanted to put it all behind me. And then he quickly said, I also wanted to help my mom. Now, I wanted to put it all behind me. That statement, it spoke to me in a different type of way. And usually when somebody says that, they literally mean that it could be so easy for them to put it all behind them, to put all of the friendships that you had, to put all of the connections that you had behind you, to put your whole life, all that you knew, everything that you knew from childhood on, behind you. And it spoke to me because if you from DC, you wouldn't say that out your mouth. And you wouldn't say that because you know that it's not easy to do. Growing up into a tough life and growing up into, you know, having these morals and living by a certain code, that statement just wouldn't come out of your mouth because it's not easy to do. And honestly, if he wanted to wholeheartedly help his mother, and that was the first reason why you folded, you should have said that first. That's how I could tell that his intentions wasn't for his mother in the first beginning. It was for himself, to save himself. It made me think, was he not born into this life? And the answer is no. His mother was interviewed in this same situation, and it was revealed that she had a government job that paid $40,000 a year. Her ex-husband, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, her husband at the time, when Rayful was a shorty, had a government job as well. And the interviewer dropped a bomb that he wasn't born or grew up in the inner city. He grew up in the suburbs. He's not from DC. I don't give a fuck how long you had a house in DC or how many people you knew in DC. He's not from here. And it shows tremendously. To grow up in the suburbs, there's nothing wrong with that. But in order to understand people like Wayne Perry, people like Big Head Gary, and the list goes on and on and on. To understand these people, you gotta come from and be cut from a certain cloth. It makes sense that he wasn't from the city because of how flashy he was. Just think about it. Alpo was the same way. And that's mainly because he wasn't from here, but he wanted to ring bells in this city. He wanted to be seen in this city. If you from here and you grew up here all your life, you wouldn't be tripping about being seen. You wouldn't, like, my thing is, you wouldn't need an entourage. You wouldn't need all the motherfuckers to be around you to validate who you think you are. She basically said that Rayful had no idea what he was getting himself into, and I disagree with that. You know, I feel like he gave her a story to run with, and she ran with it even after she was incarcerated, which is just quite immature. It's quite foolish. You know, you're supposed to have your own mind and have the same energy that you had on them wiretaps. It was an informant that recorded her speaking on the dealings and bragging on how powerful her son was. Keep the same energy. But then you just gonna blame it on his friends? That don't even make sense. She even said that her ex-husband, her husband at the time, was selling heroin, and she was selling some pills or whatever the case is, but he didn't know what he was getting himself into. Make that make sense. I'm not sure if anybody truly knew his background then. I don't know if anybody knows it now. But honestly, it's very important into the character of who you are as a person. It's very important.